Hey guys, welcome back. Got some good stuff here for you. Now, as you guys know, again, Iraq is, they're not doing anything right now, guys. That does suggest to us that's because they've already completed everything. The very next thing we're pretty much going to see is for the Council of Ministers to pass the 2020 budget back to Parliament. Today, News said they would do that in about 2 days. I disagree. I don't think it'll get passed off to Parliament more till around Thursday. But that's my opinion. All right, let's uh, let's look at what we got, guys. This is a good article. Now, here's what I want to stress to you, though. When they give you dates, that dates are the number one thing they lie to you about, guys. Okay, they lie to you about dates. And regardless, they do lie in general. I can give you two examples of lies right now on the 2020 budget. Okay, the first one is they said that the 2020 budget, okay, was only going to cover government operating expenses. Okay? And now you guys know I've shown you a whole bunch of reforms that are inside of it. And the second one was they said that the 2020 budget was only going to cover a 3-month period. Okay? Because they haven't told you the truth as to what their true fiscal year is, ranging from April through March. Okay? So there's two examples of lies. Now, but again, I want to stress to you the number one thing they lie about, guys, when they give you dates, you cannot trust them. Okay? So in this article, it's a good article. It goes through a bunch of different reforms that are going to come forth. But let's look at the title of it. It says, Concerning the Currency, Salaries, and Commodity Prices, 10 Economic Measures and Radical Financial Change that Iraq is expected to implement next year. Okay? Again, that's a date, next year. All right? So I would say there's some truth to this article, but when they say next year, again, and second, they will never tell you when the rate is going to change, guys. That is classified. Okay? Let's look at the contents of this article. Okay, so this article basically says, yes, Iraq, Baghdad, today Sunday, the economic and oil expert revealed reforms to the International Monetary Fund that Iraq is expected to implement, some of them during the next year, 2021. But again, Iraq's lies to you. The number one lie that they give you are dates. Okay? And the second thing is they will never tell you when the rate's going to change because it's classified. Al Marsumi said in a blog, Will Iraq implement the reforms of the International Monetary Fund, noting that the package of economic reforms adopted by the International Monetary Fund, which Iraq is expected to implement some of them in 2021, consists of the following. All right. So the guys, number one is huge. They're telling you they're going to decrease the national currency exchange rate, guys. When they decrease the rate, it actually increases the value of the currency. Okay? I just want to stress that to you. So again, step number one, decreasing the national currency exchange rate increases the overall value of the currency. Okay? So, but again, that's why I'm telling you, Iraq will never tell you the year they're going to do that step. So the fact that they're telling you 21, disregard that part of the article because they will never tell you the truth as to when they plan to physically increase the value of their currency. Okay? Raising the interest rate and setting credit ceilings, gradual reduction of government support for government goods and services, reducing public spending on goods and services, reducing the salary clause and limiting the appointment of graduates in government institutions, restructuring and privatizing and losing public sector enterprises, reducing the transfer expenditures items of social nature, especially with regard to subsidizing the prices of essential commodities. Number 8, raise the energy prices to the level of international prices. raising taxes, increasing their proceeds, reorganizing them, creating other tax vessels, or imposing direct taxes or policies for indirect taxes, as well as increasing the base of taxpayers, limiting tax exemptions, developing collection methods, and combating tax evasion. Number 10, liberation of all prices and trade liberalization. Now, guys, just so you know, I've already talked to my Iraqi contact. They already have, on a business level, they already have all the taxations already in place. On a business level, especially with taxes at the ports and borders. So this one right here is talking more about like personal income taxes, okay? So I think that they still have to get the personal income tax level going because most of the citizens there, guys, are pretty poor. So I don't think they've been able to implement individual taxes yet. At least not on the regular folks, mostly just on the wealthy. Okay. So that's a decent article. But again, do not trust the date they give you because that's where they lie the most. And second, they will never tell you when they physically plan to actually perform the rate change. They'll never tell you that. Okay, but that line number 1, guys, is huge. It says decrease the national currency exchange rate. That's your deletion of the zeros right there, because deleting the zeros, guys, has everything to do with inflation. When countries have high inflation, they delete the zeros off the notes. When countries have low inflation, they delete the zeros off of the exchange rate to increase the value of the currency. Okay, so there's that. Let's look at this article. This article, guys, just has BS written all over it. It says the coming days will witness a weakening of the purchase power of the individual and exposing the general economy into a recession. The economic expert, Mazhar Mohammed Salah, said today that the 2020 budget law is useless given that it suffers from a large financial deficit in its folds, while the best solution to get out of the financial deficit crisis that the country suffers from is to go. Salah, who worked as a financial advisor with more than one prime minister, said in a press interview today that the cabinet's withdrawal of the budget from parliament is consistent with the previous public finance vision, which confirms the futility of relying on an annual budget for the year of 2020 because it is paralyzed in its formulas and components. He added the 2020 budget depends on a deficit of more than 60% of its expenditures, and there is no ability to finance except through borrowing that meets strong parliamentary opposition, as well as weak lending financing sources except at burdensome high costs. For the national economy, and Salah continued, the idea of going to adopt the monthly budget is the available solution in the short term instead of relying on general informal budget law that cannot be planned. He stated that the restriction on the general budget activity represented by the operating budget costs of more than 7 trillion dinar per month, while the available oil and non-oil revenues did not exceed 4 trillion dinar per month, and this means the 2020 budget will be limited to the clause of paying salaries, wages, and salaries of retirees and social care until the end of the year, while the state's investment and operational expenses will inevitably be stopped. The economic figure pointed out that the state will face great difficulties in the next few months unless it maximizes its resources through exponential policies or improves oil revenues. Salah explained, the continued government spending is the way, in this way, will have a negative impact on the general economic activity of the country, as the surveys confirm that the gross domestic product is losing about 30% of its components, which help to spread unemployment and at the same time led to a decrease in the per capita share in its annual share of the product local. He added that the coming days may witness a weakening of the purchasing power of the individual, which will lead to the exposure of the general economy into a recession. The government had sent the 2020 budget bill to Parliament before withdrawing it to make amendments to it amid talk of a large deficit in it, guys. Guys, this article's BS, and here's why. In this article, they talked about possibly transitioning back to a month-to-month. Okay, they're not doing it. They have to roll out a budget because of the reforms, flat out. The reforms require budget funding, done. Okay, as well as the reforms are post rate change, meaning they can only be implemented after the rate change. Okay, and now as you guys are seeing, the budget, they can't even start the approval process of the budget till after the rate change. Okay, you're seeing that too. Now, there's another thing in this article. They're telling you the budget has a large deficit, but what they're failing to tell you is that all this money they had to borrow, and the reason it has a high deficit, it's because all of the money they borrowed is being utilized to fund the reforms. That's why it has a horrendous deficit in it, okay? Just wanted to, kind of share that with you. So again, this article is all BS, guys, okay? So now I've got something interesting for you guys here to see. Let's take a look at this. So this was sent to me earlier today. And again, guys, I want to take the time to thank all of you guys that send me stuff, okay? So this is interesting, guys. It's a, let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Hold on. Okay. All right. So we made it a little smaller here, maybe make it a little easier to see on the screen. All right. So what this is it's a website. Give me a second. I'm trying to. Okay. This is a website that it's called Best Exchange Rates, and what they do, that's what they do. They kind of use it as a travel guide to get Iraq's to transfer their Iraq's currency, to view the exchange rates of it, the value of it, and all that. And it's just kind of interesting. I had this sent to me today, and it actually shows a 10 dinar note. I kind of tried to look it up, and I'll put the link for this below so you guys can, examine it and study it yourself. Okay? I don't know where they got this. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you it's a new lower note coming out because I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you guys like that. I don't know where they got this from. Okay? It's just, regardless, it's interesting though. So it just shows to be a 10 dinar note. Now, here's one thing I want to show you guys. You know how you guys have seen articles where they come out talking about the Iraq dinar and how it's going to float and everything? Just so you guys know, it already does float. Let's go down a little bit here. If I scroll down, you can see this chart, and it says right here, that's highlighted blue, recent USD to IQD 90-day trend. Okay? And then you guys see this graph chart in the middle, kind of where you see that black line dancing right there. Okay, it shows the value over the last 90 days. The fact that the value has gone up and down, guys, it's floating. It's a market-driven float. It's going to do that. Excuse me. It currently floats now, and it's going to continue to be a market-driven float after the freaking rate change. So when they tell it's going to float, nothing's changing. It's going to stay the way it is, okay? So anytime you hear like other gurus giving you their stupid opinion on it's going to float, stop listening to that guru because they're already lying to you and misleading you, okay? There's no need for any gurus to give you an opinion on the floating. You can see right here it does, because again, here's the 90-day trend on it that it's done for the last 90 days. It's floating right here before your eyes according to this graph chart, okay? It's going to stay a market-driven float based on supply and demand before the rate change and after the rate change, okay? There will be no change. So again, it's not worth freaking out and listening to gurus on this because the odds are they're going to mislead you as they continually do, okay? So there you guys go. I looked around. There's nothing really to click on and see any other. Here's a U.S. dollar to Iraqi dinar quick conversion down here. Okay, and again, I'm going to put I'll put the link to this article below the video so you guys can check it out. It's just kind of interesting. There's not really a lot here, but it's kind of interesting how they actually turn around and put a 10 dinar note. Okay. So anyway, guys, just wanted to show that to you, showing you how they're going to be pumping. They are pumping BS out right now. They have been this whole quarter, telling you, for example, that the budget was only going to cover a 3-month period. So, yeah, they're pumping a lot of BS. Plus, originally they said that the budget only was in place, it only had enough funds in it to cover government operating expenses. But as you guys see, there's mass amount of reforms. Okay, I've already showed you a bunch. Showed you some this morning, and I just now showed you some more this evening. So anyway, guys, hey, you guys are the absolute best. God bless you guys, and have a wonderful evening. Take care.